infuriating because TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have. And what you've got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say because I can't believe that here you've got a TikTok situation. What they're doing is these 150 million people are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information, they can get your emails, they can get text messages, they can get all of these things.
This is very important for our party.
Exactly what they're doing.
This is very important for our party, and I'm going to say
you've gone and you've helped China make medicines in China, not America. You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us. You went and you were in business with the Chinese that gave Hunter Biden $5 million. We can't trust you. We can't trust you. We can't have TikTok in our kids' lives. We need to ban it.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 15 seconds.
Over 1 month later.
Mr. Ramaswamy, we've talked about this. You campaign on TikTok. How do you get TikTok banned if you use it?
Well, I want to laugh at why Nikki Haley didn't answer your question, which was about looking at families in the eye. In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app. For a long time, so you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice. You're just
the easy answer.
Okay, so Vivek Ramaswamy once again annihilated a stage of career politicians. So there's not much to talk about in this debate because what we had was a bunch of politicians just being scripted, saying the typical neocon type things, saying their typical things. We're going to reduce taxes and we're going to let the Democrats slap us around, stuff like that. And of course, Nikki Haley, warmonger Nikki Haley, was exposing herself once again as a full-blown bloodthirsty warmonger. Someone who wouldn't fight herself but wants to send others out to die. She has a military-aged daughter. We just saw her. Would she want her daughter going out there? You provoke all of these foreign wars. You want to spend trillions of dollars on wars. You want to bomb Iran. You want to send troops to Taiwan to push China into a war. You want to keep this Ukraine thing going until Russia pushes this thing to World War III. Would you want your daughter fighting these wars? Your daughter's 25. A lot of 25-year-old women have died in Ukraine. Would you want your daughter over there? You pushing this thing like it's absolutely necessary. That's the thing about these neocons, these people in power. We got Lindsey Graham too. People like him, people like Nikki Haley, they get rich off the military-industrial complex, but they don't want to get their hands dirty. You want other people to become maimed, become injured, disabled veterans, but you just get rich off of it. And we're going to get into that because we're going to show how Vivek absolutely annihilated this lady. See, Vivek was being a little too soft on her at first. The first two debates, she screeched at him, she yelled at him. You can hear all the donors in the crowd because these audiences are filled with special interests and donors. It's not actual everyday Americans. So you can hear her donors and all those establishment neocons in the audience cheering as she screeches about absolute nothing and exposes hypocrisy at Vivek Ramaswamy. So we're going to watch a couple of clips to see exactly how this went down. But before we get into that, I just need to address the debate as a whole because throw the whole Republican Party away. This was terrible. You let these Trump-hating hard leftists run the Republican debate? What the hell? Why were they on NBC with Lester Holt and whatever the hell that lady's name is? You can just see the hatred in her eyes. You can see she had blood coming out of her eyes.
You know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever. But she was, in my opinion, she was off base.
But the format, first of all, it wasn't even a debate because it was more like a Q&A. These people were just taking turns answering questions. They weren't allowed to address each other. They weren't allowed to respond when they were attacked. It was like, basically, be quiet, let this person talk. We're going to ignore you. You're not going to, if somebody attacks you, we're going to move on as if it didn't happen. That's why I said the last time, these types of debates are archaic, but The fact that you let NBC host this, the first thing they did, what did they do? They brought up Trump. Because NBC hates Trump and they just use Trump-hating rhetoric to gain viewers. And on top of that, the debate started, if you want to call it a debate. It started with questions about other countries. What about Israel? What about Taiwan? What about Ukraine? What about any other place in the world except for America where we can spend taxpayers' dollars, where we can print money and wage wars overseas? It took over an hour for them to actually address problems that everyday Americans care about. And that stuff was pissing me off. I'm like, damn. Next question. What about Israel? What about Ukraine? Next question. What about the Jews across seas? Next question. What about the Taiwanese? Like, oh my God. We don't give a damn. You guys don't understand. Everyday Americans don't give a damn about Israel and Ukraine because we have to address our own problems. We don't have room to address them because we need to fix our own house first. We got so many problems in America. But the RNC sits here and lets NBC host a debate where they're sitting here avoiding the real issues because NBC loves somebody. They didn't want to talk about how trash the economy is, how unaffordable housing is, how high gas is. They didn't want to talk about all of that. They spent all the time, the primary time in the debate when they had the most viewers, talking about foreign wars because they know these neocons, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Tim Scott, they know that they would just eat it up and they would be completely distracted by that because these people are bloodthirsty. So they love them some war. Please, we could talk about war all night and forget everything else going on in America. But the best moment of this debate, it actually happened at the beginning. Vivek completely exploded and nuked NBC. He called out the media. He called out NBC for being the lying sacks of shit that they are. Let's take a look.
Mr. Ramaswamy, let me turn to you. Please make your case. Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Roberts.
This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to Governor Christie. Why you?
Then after that, NBC, they didn't want to address it, but you can tell they were seething. But after that, he went on to his primary target because Nikki Haley, like I said, she screeched at him. She tried to trash talk him the last couple of debates, called him an amateur, called him dumb, said he doesn't know anything, all types of stuff like that. So he said, you know what, I'm taking off the gloves and I'm about to annihilate you. So he went at her and it was glorious. Let's take a look.
The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case, we've got two of them on stage
Mr.
tonight.
Ramaswamy, thank you. Lee, would you please answer that?
Yes, I'd first like to say they're 5-inch heels, and I don't wear them unless you can run in them.
We've got two of you on stage.
The second thing that I will say is I wear heels. They're not for a fashion statement. They're for ammunition. What we need to be doing for Iraq and Syria is, first of all, the idea that our men and women could be targeted and that we've allowed almost 100 hits to happen under Biden's watch is unthinkable. We need to understand this is Iran giving the green light, telling them what to do, and we shouldn't be doing the tit for tat like what Joe Biden has done. We need to go and take out their infrastructure that they are using to make those strikes strikes with so they can never do it again. Iran responds to strength. You punch them one and you punch them hard and they will back off.
But Nikki, she wasn't his only target, because he also made sure to take down the rest of the stage, especially with this whole Ukraine thing, their lies on the Ukrainian war. So let's take a look at this.
Mr. Ramaswamy, are you persuaded by President Zelensky's urgent new plea? Where do you stand on more funding?
I'm absolutely unpersuaded. And I'm actually enjoying watching the Ukraine hawks quietly, delicately tiptoe back from their position as this thing has unwound into a disaster. The first half of this race, I was the only person standing for it. Now they're actually quietly coming around to being more cautious, as they should. Level with the American people here. Ukraine is not a paragon of democracy. This is a country that has banned 11 opposition parties. It has consolidated all media into one state TV media arm. That's not democratic. It has threatened not to hold elections this year unless the U.S. forks over more money. That is not democratic. It has celebrated a Nazi in its ranks, the comedian in cargo pants, a man called Zelensky, doing it in their own ranks. That is not democratic. More facts for you that you won't hear from the mainstream in either party or the mainstream media. The regions of Ukraine that are occupied by Russia right now, in the Donbass, Luhansk, Donetsk. These are Russian-speaking regions that have not even been part of Ukraine since 2014, that other people probably couldn't name those provinces for you. Those are the hard facts. And so to frame this as some kind of battle between good versus evil, don't buy it. And I'd like the likes of the sharpest of the war hawks on Ukraine, Nikki Haley, to have some accountability and answer. Do you want to use U.S. taxpayer money to fund the banning of Christians? That is actually what's happening. They're using the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They have banned them. The Ukrainian parliament just did this last week, supported by our dollars. And I think you owe it to the American people, Nikki, to at least this one time at least condemn.
Thank you. That's time.
At least to condemn their banning of Christians.
Mr. Ramaswamy, thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy, thank you. We asked the questions. Ambassador Haley,
well, she deserves to
what is your take on more funding for Ukraine?
I am telling you, Putin and President Xi are salivating at the thought that someone like that could become president. They would love to see
that. The fact of the matter is she doesn't answer
the question. So this is what I will tell you.
We're driving Russia into China's hands because of these foolish policies.
You had your time to talk. The ambassador has the floor. Ambassador,
thank you. The first thing I'll tell you is we all remember what that thug did when he invaded Ukraine. We all know that 500,000 people have died because of Putin. And here is a freedom-loving, pro-American country that is fighting for its survival and its democracy. No, I don't think we should give them cash. I think we should give them the equipment and the ammunition to win. And I'll tell you, if Biden had done it when they first asked for it, this war would be over. But let's also remember this. When you left Afghanistan in shambles and left them with a ton of weapons and money, it's not that we left, it's how we left. When you look at Ukraine, don't think for a second, now everybody wants to move away from Ukraine. They'll want to move away from Israel a year from now. America can never be so arrogant to think we don't need friends. After 9/11, we needed a lot of friends. Now is the time to get partnerships. This unholy alliance between Russia, Ukraine, and China is real. There is a reason that Taiwanese want us to support the Ukrainians. It's because they know that China is coming after them next. There is a reason Ukrainians want us to support Israelis, because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins.
Ambassador,
we have to see the combination of the three.
Ambassador, thank you.
And even DeSantis, he got caught up in that. He got caught up in being destroyed on Ukraine by Vivek, because Ron DeSantis, if you've been paying attention to him, Ron DeSantis knew better. He knew not to join the neocons and not to spew all that garbage, but he hired advisors, and he let these advisors convince him that the best way to get votes is to be a neocon, is to talk up Ukraine and promote the Ukrainian war and talk about Putin bad, and it didn't work out for him. And it's crazy how the primary part of this debate, and most of the time in this debate, was just about addressing foreign countries, but Vivek is the only one, and I wasn't even a Vivek fan when he first started, but now I am. Vivek is the only one to actually address affordable housing costs. He's the only one who wanted to talk about wage growth, wage stagnations, the domestic issues that are hitting us. He's the one who was talking about the border and how fentanyl is pouring in, how people are dying, how having all these illegal immigrants, millions of illegal immigrants, it actually stagnates or even reduces wages because you have a lot more labor. So the supply of labor increases, which means the cost of labor reduces, therefore stagnated or lower wages as the economy grows, as the inflation rampages across the country. So with that being said, it looks like the whole Republican Party right now is down to Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy, because those other 4 people, including DeSantis, because DeSantis has listened to the wrong people and he's not changing his tune enough. Yeah, they're not worth being president. They're not ready, and some of them, they're just too neoconish. So if we don't have Trump or Vivek as the Republican president next year, we're just gonna be back in the Bush era. If one of these other Republicans win, it'll be like George Bush all over again. So let me know what y'all think. Leave me your thoughts below. Share the video. Thanks for watching.